Hello, welcome to episode 9 of Calls with Paul. I'm Marquette Redham.
And I'm Paul.
That's Paul Redham over there.
Yep, Paul Redham.
We usually try to go live, and this week we were having a lot of difficulties. One, our neighbors across the street are jackhammering the slab of their house so they can build a new house, so super loud.
You may hear that come back.
And then in the middle of all that, we had no internet connection on my phone, Paul's phone, the laptop. So it was a little jinxed, but we're just coming to you not live, recorded. It's a recorded episode of Calls with Paul.
We persevered.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
So today, though, we're talking about something I think that is really helpful to buyers out there, and that is in our theme of March, luck. How do you win in a multiple offer situation? And I think it does take a lot more than luck. Is that fair?
It does. We've certainly gotten better at it over the years. I think knowing the levers to pull and the way to interact with a listing agent when you're in a buyer situation and things are competitive is really key.
And that comes a lot from your experience both representing buyers and sellers so that you kind of know what works, and we're able to share some of those tips today.
Yeah, sure. So, what turns on sellers and what turns on what gets the deal done. It's really important.
Well, for starters, Austin's market has been hot for several years now.
A long time.
And that usually means that we're seeing multiple offer situations, or what we sometimes colloquially call bidding wars. What is a bidding war?
Well, a bidding war is when more than one party jumps into a deal, like somebody puts an offer out there and then somebody else comes along and puts another offer out.
Usually at it around the same time, right?
Yeah, at it around the same time. And a lot of times the listing agent will email or call or whatever to let everybody involved know that there's more than one offer.
Well, we're going to get there.
Yeah, okay.
You always want to cut straight to the point, and I want to give a little education along the way.
Yes, ma'am.
So multiple offers usually occur in a seller's market, right?
That's right.
And what's a seller's market?
A seller's market is when you have 3 months or less of inventory. So if homes quit coming on the market, how fast would they sell out?
I like to put it in a little bit more simple kind of way than that, because I don't want to keep track. It's just basically when inventory is low and you have a lot of buyers, or more buyers than you have homes to sell.
When you have more demand than homes.
That's great. And when that happens, when it's a seller's market, that means from a negotiation standpoint that the sellers are usually going to be the ones that come from the position of negotiating power. And a lot of times the sellers then use that multiple offer situation to kind of drive up the price, right?
That's right. Well, I mean, sometimes it's intentional and sometimes it's not. And it's really impossible to tell. But it's not uncommon these days, at least for our homes that we list, to list on Thursday, have a offer or a couple of offers on Friday and Saturday, and start making decisions on what offer you want to pick from on Monday. And it may be, one very recently, we had 7 offers. They were all over list. It's just not uncommon. We had, so it used to be even more common than it is right now. It used to be that 40% of the homes sold within a week. I can't tell if they were all multiple offers or not when we study these things, but now it's more like 20% that are selling within the first week, and presumably those are the multiple offer ones. So that's 1 in 5. So you really do need to be good at it if you want to be successful.
Let's talk about the rules. Are there any rules in a bidding war? I mean, I know that in real estate there's certain things that you have to do. Yeah. Like, what are the rules for a multiple offer situation?
There really aren't any. Like the Texas
Real
Estate Commission hadn't come out with any rules. There's some standards that have evolved over the years that a lot of people follow, but not everybody does.
Well, the one rule is that it's blind, right?
Yeah, so you can't do what's called shop and offer. So as a listing agent, I can't say, hey, look, I have this number. Can anybody beat it? But I can say we have more than one offer. Everybody, please bring your highest and best buy.
And the bidding term can be a little bit misleading. It's not an auction where everyone's literally raising their hand and competing against each other. Like that one that you recently had where you had 7 offers that first weekend. Yeah. You got them all kind of over the weekend.
Right. They kind of came in one right after the other. The first one was almost immediate. It was pretty cool.
And so even though there's not rules, there are some, you kind of see some people handle it the same way. How do you handle it? Because I think that aligns with a lot a lot of realtors. You just need to know that the sellers are going to be in control of the process, and they may change the rules depending on their realtor's advice.
So it usually starts with a phone call from an agent that says, "Hey, Paul, are you working anything?" And I'll say, "Yeah, I have another offer." And they'll say, "Hey, look, if you have multiple offers, how do you handle it?" My standard answer there is, "Well, it's not really my decision. It's my seller's." There's pros and cons to going ahead and declaring multiple offers and setting a date. But so ultimately, it's our seller's decision whether we do that or not. If sellers follow my lead, we tend to say, "Hey, look, we'll make decisions Sunday night or Monday morning, just depending on how things work out." And we let offers stack up through the weekend. And I'm pretty transparent about that with buyers.
And so then you're going to sit down with your seller and you're going to go through all the offers, right?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it depends on what the offers look like. I try to limit it. They get, as offers come in, they get presented by email with bullet points and advice. And sometimes that advice is, let's stick with it through the weekend. Please let me hold my open house.
But when it comes time to make a decision, you're going to review those offers with your sellers, and then they're going to pick what they think of as the best offer. Right. And the best offer to me may be different than the best offer to you. Sellers are different. They're going to bring their own perspective and nuances to making that decision based on what their personal decision is, right?
Absolutely. Everybody's motivated in their own way.
And because it's a blind situation, you don't know. Your offer may be $1 less than somebody else's. It may be $10,000 less. You just don't know.
You don't know. The problem about winning a multiple offer situation is what happens next. Almost everybody's like, "Whoa, I must have paid too much," and that's usually the case. Like, you have to be the craziest person in the room to win.
Well, we know from your experience that there are certain things that sellers tend to respond to, right? That even though it's subjective, there are certain elements of that offer that you can kind of pull like levers, right, to try to make your offer stand out. And I think those tend to fall in two main categories. Is that right?
That's right.
One is money. Everybody wants more money.
Money.
And if you think about it, like, a home is usually going to be someone's most valuable asset. And so when they're selling it, they want to maximize that asset to the greatest level that they can. And we'll talk about the money piece. And then the other thing that sellers really want is certainty, right? They want to know that whatever deal they agree with is, you're smiling at me.
You just know so much. Like, I love it.
I've been hanging out with you for like 15 years. I only know it because you taught me. You're a good teacher.
I think you really are ready to get your real estate.
Oh, God help me. We'll see.
So go do it all.
But anyway, so they want certainty. They want confidence that that deal, whatever offer they accept, is actually going to work out. So once we're comfortable with, as a buyer, knowing that the seller is pretty much the one that's calling the shots about the process and they're in the position of negotiating power, we can hit that price, money issue and that certainty pieces. The first thing, what do you suggest about price?
Well, we have some games that we play. The first one is what I call it anchors away. So you let go of what the price is.
The listing price.
You forget about what the listing price is, and you ask yourself, would we have been excited about that house if it were priced here? And if the answer is yes, then you up it another $10,000 or so. Well, we like the house there, and you'd be surprised what that game will do for you if you can just let go of that price. That's anchors away.
The asking price.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you're limited by necessarily the asking price.
Yeah. Don't feel like you're limited there. Some people get hung up there. Do you want me to?
Well, and that makes sense because, market value is determined by what someone would pay for it and the value that they associate with it, not necessarily what the seller, is asking for,
right,
or anything like that. Okay, so you're gonna do anchors away, and you're gonna start figuring out personally how much you think that house is worth, what
anchors
you would pay
away,
for it.
And no regrets. So like when we try to coach a lot on, hey, look, if this gets away from you, we don't want you to have any regrets. So take it as high as you can, where if it sells for $1 over that, you're totally cool with that.
Well, and I think you shared with me last night when we were talking about this that offers kind of tend to come in groups or bands, and I thought that was fascinating.
It is.
Tell us about that.
It is pretty fascinating, and I try to tell buyers about this so that they could expedite their learning curve. But you have folks who will start out and they feel like
3 groups, right?
there's three groups.
So group one is?
Group one is, gosh, I've heard Austin's a really hot market. So I'm going to give the seller their list price.
Exactly what they want.
What they're asking. That's an awesome offer. Where I come from, the homes don't sell for that amount. So people feel very, very good about that when they do it. And then the next setup are those guys, but frustrated. That's at least how I think.
They've lost some deals.
They've missed out. They've realized that list price really isn't cutting it. So they'll bump it up a nudge above list price. Probably playing the other game that I call chess it out, where you kind of guess it like what other people are doing.
Okay, so that's the second group. They go in a little bit over list price.
And then you have the one that I like to call where some spouse grabbed the other one by the neck and said, "Do what you have to.
I
I want it.
Make it mine.
I'm tired of monkeying with this, and I'm ready to get on with life." And most of the time when we have multiple offers, it's fascinating, there'll be two of those.
So you have a group that's just at list price, group one, group two, a little bit over list price, and then you have group three, kind of maybe one or two offers that really go for it.
Yeah, every now and then you'll have three up there at the top, but like you'll have in this last one that's just fresh on my mind, we had we had none really just at list price, but they were all beyond, but we had kind of everybody in that intermediate level, and then we had two at the very highest level, and it was a racehorse. I really thought the first racehorse was going to take it away, and then another one came in, which made me feel like there's market value.
Well, the sellers kind of easily, in my mind, if I'm a seller, I'm going to easily dismiss those people that are at list price.
Right.
I'm going to easily dismiss those people that came in just above list price, and I'm going to have stars in my eyes and be excited about the couple of offers that came in that really went for it.
Yeah.
And then so all that to say is that, it varies. Like sometimes those differentiations in price are really big. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're a little bit narrower. It's not that much of a pricing difference. So it depends a little bit on the location, the house, what's going on in the market. But if you want to win in a multiple offer situation, the first thing we can do, just to sum it up, is to not get hung up on the idea of the list price and really think about those pricing bands that people tend to come in at, and think about trying to figure out, so long as you can afford it, putting yourself in that top band so you're more likely to actually get seriously considered.
Be the craziest person in the room. That's the winning. Like that's the walk. If you just walk away with that, that'll get you there. Of course, it's uncomfortable to be the craziest person in the room, because at some point you regain your sanity and you go, "Oh, geez, what did I do?"
Well, that's my next piece of advice. So the second thing in a multiple buyer situation, multiple offer situation, is to not fall prey to the win at all cost mentality.
Yeah.
So we sometimes go to fundraisers where they have auctions.
Oh boy, you're gonna share that.
I get competitive, right? Like they're auctioning off artwork, vacations, whatever, and I'm sitting there. We don't need to buy whatever it is, but my competitive instinct kicks in, and before you know it, my hand and my little paddle is going up. And in fact, at the Doss Elementary Spring Party last year, we walked away with a lot of things that we probably don't really need.
All the fundraisers are going to be calling you, telling you how much other people are doing.
So that win at all cost mentality is what kicked in for me.
Yeah.
And I think that happens too in a housing situation. And so you want to try to make sure that even though you want to be in that top tier, that top band of pricing things, you want to try to control your urges. Yeah. You want to have a budget. Like you don't want to all of a sudden make offers on a house that put your family in financial difficulty because you can't really afford it in terms of the dated, the month to month, purchase price and cost and all that. So it's emotional. Like,
well, it's a big deal. It's nice, when you get a few days to, the way we do it, we try to give everybody plenty of time to think, because it's big stuff, and we know that people are inclined to really go for it and then think that they can take it away in an option period or something. But I think you really have to mean it when you go crazy, and I think you have to be able to digest what that means.
And when we were starting out, when you get in a multiple offer situation, I fall in love with a lot of homes, and I always think that whatever home is currently we're negotiating is the best home that has ever been on the market in the world. Ever. And we've lost some deals, particularly early on when we were younger and life was different and perspectives were different. We lost some deals, and I would mourn I would be so sad, and I would mourn the loss of those houses. But you know what? I think about where we live now and the neighborhood we're in, and I'm so glad we didn't get those deals.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of a piece of advice that there is, even though you might feel sad and you might have lost other offers, you will eventually find a house that works for you and your personal situation.
We do after losing a multiple offer house, grief counseling.
Does it involve beer?
Not always, but I'm not opposed to that, of course. But it's always been fascinating to me that when our clients lose in a multiple offer situation, they ultimately end up
somewhere
really
better
where they're supposed to be. That may be a little bit too cosmic,
life works out.
But like it really happens.
It does. Okay, the other thing, so we've talked about don't get hung up on asking price, don't fall for the win at all cost mentality. You may only get one chance.
That's right.
That's the next piece.
I have a lot of people who are like, well, hey, let's do this in the multiple offer situation, and then we can step up if we really need to. And there's really not in Austin anyway. I understand in other areas there may be a second ask, but in Austin it's really a one-time show. There may be, like, if you have two crazy offers up there at the top and one has non-negotiable or more option money or whatever.
Certainty, bring it to certainty.
I might walk over to the other offer and say, hey, look, if you can up your option money, we'll go your direction or whatever.
But you want to go in strong because you may only get one bite at the apple, so you want to make it your best. That
second call is really a massage in case it's a horse race, and we try to edge out what we have.
So those are tips in terms of pricing. So sellers, to win a multiple offer situation, price is the biggest controlling factor. And then the second controlling factor is certainty. So most real estate contracts, offers are a type of contract.
Right.
And they're going to have contingencies, meaning those are different opportunities for the buyer to get out of the deal, right?
That's exactly right.
And we're not going to go through all of the different contingencies. But a lot of times what we can do is to limit the seller's risk and try to eliminate some of those contingencies so that they have, you're smiling at me again.
I just think you're really pretty with your green. But by the way, do you guys know why we're wearing green? Yeah, I didn't think you did. It's because it's St. Patrick's Day month. Are we wearing green all month?
No, next. No.
Do I get to pinch you sometime?
Oh, I'm sure you will, but not because it's St. Patrick's Day. Focus.
Sorry.
Focus. Okay. So, these are opportunities in the contingencies for the buyers to get out of the contract, and sellers want to make sure whatever offer they accept is actually going to turn into an actual transaction. So the way we can do that is to eliminate these contingencies and eliminate these uncertainties. Because if you think about it, if I'm the seller, by the time you decide to back out of my contract, my house is no longer new on the market. People have seen it and forgotten about it, and it makes it harder for me to go back and try to put my home on the market and attract new buyers. So it can have a real detrimental impact on the seller if you back out. So that certainty is really important. Can you walk us through some of those contingencies, what we can do as a buyer to make our offer stronger by limiting the risk to the seller?
Yeah,
start with one.
Well, there's several. No financing contingency is a good one, but the short of it really is the tighter we make the contract so that buyers can't exercise loopholes, the more the seller likes it. So the loopholes that you really have in your contract include like a financing contingency, objections to title commitments. You can eliminate that. Option period. You might not want to let go of your option period entirely, or then again you might, but you might also increase your option money that's non-refundable money that you don't get.
Well, but you're kind of doing that all in one, and I want to hit each of those individually. So that people can understand them and maybe take notes. Okay, so one of the first things they can do is get approved for their loan.
Right, so there's two levels of approval, like the one that you get almost immediately when you talk to a lender is a pre-approval. That's not as good as a full approval, which takes a little bit more time, a little more upfront work. But if you can do that, it can really help, give
and
a little more certainty.
You would attach that to your offer.
Yeah, but you really have to do that like you have to be thinking ahead of time, and you really have to be that's a preparation deal.
That speaks to the financial contingency that, hey, maybe these people are less likely to kill the deal because their loan doesn't get approved because they've already been approved.
Right, and they may go ahead and just do it without a financing contingency on the buyer side, the buyer being able to get the loan.
Another way to address that financial contingency is to pay.
It's just the option money part.
No, pay cash.
Pay cash.
You don't get a loan at all.
Yeah, cash is great because it eliminates your financing contingency
altogether.
So that's the best approval.
Not everyone can afford that. Not everyone can do that. And if you are paying cash, sometimes they want you to show that you have proof of funds that you can actually pay the cash that you say that you can pay.
Yeah, and a lot of times, because the next question is, well, how do we do that, Paul? You'll take just a screenshot of your bank account or a part of it, or some people have money in all kinds of different bank accounts. You might take several, or you might take. Anyway, you get it. But I don't need to see everything you have. I just need to see enough for you to do what you want to do.
Another lever is closing date. Sometimes sellers want to close quickly because they've got another house under the contract. Sometimes, like we just closed a house in Crestview where they were not moving for another month, and they wanted to be able to stay in their home. So being flexible about your closing date, having a conversation with the realtor about what they need. Any other thoughts on closing date?
Yeah, so really one of the best questions you can ask the other agent, or you can have your agent ask the other agent is, what else can we, beyond price, what else can we do to secure this? Do your guys need anything? Is there anything special? And a lot of times that'll uncover a lease back or a greater need for certainty. A lease back is where after you close the what was the seller and now the tenant gets to stay in the house for a period of time. Usually at a rental month that we express on a daily rate. Does that help?
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough?
And sometimes you might even offer a free lease back, right?
Yeah, we've had folks use it as an inducement for the seller, or a really inexpensive one or whatever. But the sellers are looking at what makes them comfortable when they move after closing.
Cool. Then there are two things we can do in a contract related to the option period. First of all, before you tell me what those are, I want to tell everybody what an option period is. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Just so everybody understands. So an option period is basically a span of time. What are you doing?
I'm straightening this out. It's bugging me.
I'm trying to look at it, though, while you're moving it.
I feel like fidgeting. I'm sorry.
Okay. The option period is basically a period of time in the contract where the buyer has an unrestricted right to terminate the contract for any reason.
That's right.
So usually that's going to be the period of time that the buyer is doing their due diligence. You're having it inspected. Maybe you're having someone look at the stucco, or you're having the pool evaluated, or whatever. Or maybe you're having, your psychic come check it out to make sure it's got good mojo. I don't know, whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's your due diligence period. And so long as you give proper and timely notice to the seller during that option period, you can get out of the contract. But because the seller is now under option, they are taking on some risk. So usually there's going to be an amount of money called the option money that the buyer is going to pay to the seller for that privilege of having the option to exit the contract. So that option money is money you don't get back.
Don't get it
so
back.
If you terminate and decide to get out of the deal, see ya money, you're not coming back to me.
But that option money isn't due unless you get the contract.
Right.
A lot of people get stuck on that.
So, and if you end up completing the contract, that option money that you've paid to the seller ends up applying towards your total closing price, right?
Provided we've clicked the right box underneath the option period.
Okay, so now that we know what an option period is, there are two different things that we can do to make our offer more attractive. Can you speak to those?
Sure. So the option period is comprised of time and money. You can shorten the length of your option period, and you can offer far more money. We've seen kind of my standard answer for multiple offer situations is to pay $2,000 for your option money. That's usually a little bit more than what everybody else is offering. I've seen clients go as high as $5,000.
Makes it painful to get out of the deal.
But boy, does it make you stand out with the seller, because that's money they get to keep if you walk out of the deal. So they're a little bit motivated to pick your offer because they know at the very minimum they're getting the $2,000 or $5,000 or whatever number you come up with that you want to induce them with. So
I can raise my option amount to give the seller a little bit more certainty and to signal to the seller that I'm serious.
Yeah, we're not messing around. Like it's real money. It's immediate. And,
okay. What else can I do related to the option period?
You can shorten your time or not have one at all. Yeah.
That's nuclear.
Yeah, it is a little bit nuclear.
Do you recommend that?
I don't recommend it. It's not, it could be a great lever for the seller to cause them to really want to accept your offer because that's really the greatest amount of certainty that you're going to get. Cash and like as is, no option period would be kind of the perfect offer from a seller perspective. But no, we don't recommend it because it's not prudent. But we've had people do it and be very successful with it.
Usually those are savvy buyers. And by savvy, I guess I should be more clear. These are people that are usually in the construction industry or they're architects or they're engineers. They're familiar with housing and they know basically when you say no option period, you're basically saying, I am buying your house as is.
Like we're done.
Yeah, we're done. If we find out that the roof leaks, the plumbing is shot, whatever, that's our money pit. We bought it as is.
Yep.
And that's why we don't recommend it because we really think that option period is really important for you to uncover issues that might be in the house so that you know what you're buying. I mean, sometimes you're going to buy a house and be okay with the fact that you need to repair the roof or whatever, but you want to know what you're getting into and know what the cost might be associated with that.
And for you to cool down a little bit. So the option for any reason, you could wake up in the morning and say, hey, look, I'm just not interested anymore. Or we got so excited that we had one in South Austin where the buyer came in and gave us full price, I think, and then some, and walked out because it turns out the house didn't actually meet their needs. They had just fallen in love with the design.
Wow. Yeah. Well, and going back to that East Austin property that we have under contract that got 7 offers, I don't want to disclose the property and I don't want to disclose anything about the offers, but 7 offers, that's high even for a multiple offer situation. Yeah. Tell us, how did they go through the decision-making process? Like, what was important to them as they looked at all those offers?
First off, they said, hey, Paul, just tell us which one to get.
Well, they've worked with you before and they trust you.
Right,
yeah.
So that it was easy for them to pick because I just told them what I thought. But it was easy for me to help decide for them because the one that we ultimately picked and the one right behind it both had the highest price and the most certainty.
And, okay, we know highest price. What did they do in the contract to give them certainty? The things we talked about or anything else?
Honestly, I don't remember right now, but both were very strong. Both had very short option periods, and both were what I called offers in the stratosphere.
So really high.
And they were just strong. Like in the team that actually won it out, the agent did a lot of that. He built a lot of trust with me. Just like I could tell, he was really super competent, and they had looked at the house quite a bit over the weekend, and it felt right.
So there you go. So kind of to sum it up, if you find yourself in a multiple offer situation, you want to provide money, the highest amount of money that you can to the seller to make them choose your offer. And the other thing is to provide certainty by adjusting the terms of your contract to make it more attractive to the seller, either through approval, closing dates, finance contingencies, option period, option money, and all of that stuff. Now, obviously, having a realtor who has a lot of experience, I mean, there's no other, experience is the best teacher. And if you've got a realtor who has walked these, had multiple deals and they've been through the battles and through the trenches and they've come out winning and losing and they know what works, that's going to help you probably more than anything else.
Well, it's really nice when we know each other.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I'll be on the buy or sell side, and if sometimes it doesn't help when we know each other, but like most of the time it helps when things have gone right and you can trust these people. Because if you have an option period, there's a certain amount of trust that, hey, you're not going to just jump into the option period and then act silly. Because even at $2,000 or $5,000 to pay that to a seller to take their home off the market, that sounds like a lot of money from the buy side. But from the seller side, when you look at it, it's really not that much because they're really trusting you, and you need to have that trust in there as a seller that, hey, look, we're willing to take our home off the market, potentially damage ourselves if you exercise your option to terminate.
all that to say, we're happy to be the ones, or he's happy to be the one, to guide you through the process of a multiple offer situation and try to increase your chances of getting you that home that you love. Yeah. So there you have it. That's episode 9 of Calls with Paul. Thanks for joining us today. If you've got any questions, please reach out by sending an email, a text, a call, smoke signals, whatever works. We're here to help and support you through the process.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
That's right. See y'all later.
All right. Adios.